Wow. Good morning. Hey, you're listening to Conservative Cat Eyes. I do appreciate you being here this morning. Good morning, Lisa. It's always so nice to see you. How are you today, Sunshine? Subscribe to the channel if you're just joining us. We have so much to get to today, so I am just going to jump right in. I want to make sure that I get all of it in this morning. So the judge yesterday, he made several surprising decisions, is what I will call them, regarding the Charlie Kirk suspected murder trial ahead. He made some decisions about the trial. Okay, so nothing really has happened. There is no trial going on right now. It's going to be in January of 2026. But he made some decisions that I think are surprising. We'll talk about it. My thoughts there. I also want to get to Snap, okay, because EBT, Snap, it is trending on TikTok, on Twitter. People are losing their minds about losing SNAP benefits temporarily while the government is shut down. It's set to dry up November 1st. Okay, up to this point, I've always said that the government shutdown doesn't really affect many people. It still doesn't in comparison, but 42 million people on SNAP, that's a lot of people. I mean, it's like 12% of our population. When I heard 42 million people are on SNAP, I thought to myself, how many people live in the United States? And that's a good chunk of people who live in the United States, I guess. So now we're getting to a point in the government shutdown where it is going to start to affect some people. Now, you know, if you're a hardworking patriot who has limited interactions with the government, you're not on welfare. You're still probably waking up every morning, pouring your coffee, listening to the birds chirp. You're like, yeah, nothing has really changed for me much. I'm in that camp. I'm not on EBT SNAP. Growing up, we were. My dad lost jobs. So I'm not against the SNAP program. Definitely not. But my parents, my dad lost his job. It was temporary. I think we were on it for a few months while he was trying to find a different job. And that's what it's meant to be, a supplemental to your income. And there's some people out there who are, you know, claiming kids that they don't have custody of on SNAP, and they're getting thousands upon thousands of dollars a month. Okay. Or they're getting hundreds of dollars. And we'll get to the averages here. Here in the state of Illinois, I think it's like 170 per month, which, yes, is supplement per person. Okay. That's supplementing, but it's more than just supplementing. Okay. They're starting to use SNAP as your grocery bill. Okay. So SNAP, the fraud is going to be exposed right here on the Conservative Cat Show. Really what this is about, and people don't talk about this much. A lot of your conservative pundits will talk about, you know, the guy or the fat woman screaming on TikTok about how she needs her EBT and how she needs her soda pop. They'll talk a lot about that, but they don't talk. Conservative pundits, nobody really in any news cycle talks about how the big corporations are really behind this. They are getting fat off of food stamps. So we'll talk about that and we'll expose it on the Conservative Cat Show today. I do also want to talk about Illinois sanctuary laws. This is really sad. And I chuckled because nobody wants to say whether or not this guy, and I don't know for sure. I've tried to check for you, tried to dig up information on this guy. His name is Edwin Pacheco Meza, or whatever his name is. It was in Coles County. And Coles County, and it was on the county line there. I think it was like Clark County is where he was ultimately held in custody. But they should be alive today. And that is Mike and Gail Clayton. Mike Clayton, what a tragedy. I mean, going from is to was. Gail Clayton, he was a county board member serving on Coles County board, and they lost their lives tragically to what I'm hearing is an illegal immigrant. Reportedly, he's an illegal immigrant here in the United States illegally. And They should be alive. This was a tragedy that could have been prevented. All right, smash that like button. Good to hear you live. Yes, live in studio this morning. We've got so much to get to. I'm so grateful and blessed, getting ready to go to the office, feeding on cat right now. I'm so glad that you guys are here this morning. Throw it in the comment section. What are you up to today? Any Hallows Eve, All Hallows Eve plans today? We are going to be doing a special episode. I know you guys love those. On Friday, Halloween, I'll be talking about All Hallows Eve and Saints Day. Okay, on November 1st, because a lot of people, is it a pagan holiday or is it a Christian holiday? And should Christians celebrate Halloween? I'll be talking about all of that on October 31st during the regular daily show. It's going to be a special program from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. You won't want to miss it. Let's get to the Utah judge. Okay, he made surprising decisions following several requests from Charlie Kirk's suspected murderer, killer, assassin, Tyler Robinson. He made some interesting decisions ahead of the trial. So no trial yet. And he has granted the alleged assassins, he granted him the ability, because you don't have a right to wear street clothes if you are being held without bail. Bail's remanded. Like, you don't have a right. Okay. A lot of this, he has a right to wear street clothes. You don't have a right to do that. Okay. A lot of these people who are apprehended, and if bail is remanded and they remain in custody, it should be up to the discretion of those caring for that individual with the taxpayer system. Hey, we want you to wear these clothes. We think that it's unsafe for you to wear street clothes. It should be up to them. So that way, the correctional officers, the people in the justice system, the inmates, potentially, everybody's safe. Okay, so there's a reason why inmates wear a separate set of clothes, okay, when they arrive and are detained and then have to remain in custody. Okay, because it's a safety thing. I'm seeing a lot of this. He has the right, to a fair trial. Yes, but you don't have the right to wear street clothes, if you are in current custody. So anyway, the judge said he can wear street clothes if he wants. So anyway, let's hope he shows up in a tie, right? But he can wear street clothes, which is whatever. I'm not really butthurt about that. I think that it's actually a fair decision, and I'll get to the judge and why I think that he's allowed for this, but he also denied a request. Okay, so I think he's a pretty fair judge in this sense. He denied the request for him to appear unshackled, okay, during the trial. So he wants him to remain shackled during the trial. Okay, so the Utah 4th District Judge, Tony Graff, granted the defense attorney's request to allow Robinson to wear civilian clothes in court rather than a jail jumpsuit. However, the court ruled that the suspected killer will remain shackled for the duration of his court appearances. Fox News covered the decisions that were made by the judge yesterday. This is in Provo, Utah. Take a listen.
The court orders as follows. Defendant's motion to strike the sheriff's response is granted. Defendant's motion to appear in civilian clothing is granted. Defendant's motion to appear without restraints is denied. The standing decorum order will be amended to prohibit any visual recording or photography of the defendant's restraints or of the defendant entering or exiting the courtroom. The court orders as...
Okay, so that's the judge. And he made some decisions. I'll get to some other motions. But one of the defendant's motions was to appear in street clothes. That was granted. The defendant's motion to appear unrestrained was denied. The judge also imposed restrictions on the media. This is where I start to get a little sour. Okay. Maybe it's because I'm in media. I don't know. But he said the standing decorum order will be amended to prohibit visual recording or photography of the defendant's restraints or of the defendant entering and exiting the courtroom. Okay, so he put some restraints on media covering the case. Okay, the judge did. Now, I think that this judge is by the book. He is likely ruling in this way to prevent Robinson's defense from accusing the jury of being influenced. Here is another clip. I think that this is a different one. Yes, this is a different clip. This was like a Zoom where the judge made all of these decisions. Up to this point, he hasn't really appeared in court. Tyler Robinson has zoomed in. So let's take a listen to this. Here we go.
On behalf of the state.
Your Honor, Kathy Nestor, Richard Novak, and Stacy Visser on behalf of Mr. Robinson.
Thank you. Welcome to both the prosecution and defense. Mr. Robinson, I understand, is appearing by WebEx. Mr. Robinson, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Good afternoon to you all. We're here on the Tyler James Robinson motion to appear in civilian clothing and without physical restraints at all pretrial hearings. Because of some of the arguments involved in court security protocols, the court held a closed hearing on October 24th, 2025. During that hearing, the parties addressed several related matters. The first, Mr. Robinson's motion to strike the sheriff's response. The second, Mr. Robinson's motion to appear in civilian clothing and without physical restraints. The third, the sheriff's and Mr. Robinson's request to limit or exclude visual recording and photography in the courtroom. And finally, the fourth matter, the state's request to have all non-evidentiary hearings held remotely. The parties have stipulated that the state's request to hold non-evidentiary hearings virtually, as well as the parties' joint request to limit electronic media coverage, both require further briefing. Those issues are not yet ready for the court's decision. To facilitate that briefing, the court directs as follows. If the state wishes to have all non-evidentiary hearings conducted via WebEx, it must file a separate motion. The court will not rely on prior briefing. The standard timelines for response and reply apply, and the parties must file a request to submit and request a hearing if desired. If the parties seek to limit or restrict electronic media coverage, they may file a...
Okay, so that's a little bit of the hearing. I wanted to play some of that clip because he had talked about whether cameras are going to be allowed at all during the trial, the anticipated trial. Okay, so the anticipated trial is set for January. He's expected to appear in court January 16, 2026. Okay, so Judge Graff said that he was not ready to make that decision whether the media would be allowed at all during the trial. But for right now, he has put restrictions on media coverage, video photography, taking pictures of his shackles, and taking pictures of Tyler Robinson entering or exiting the courtroom. Okay, so you're all caught up to speed here on this. I don't know if there's going to be a camera ban. He said that he's going to make that decision a little bit later if both parties seek a camera ban. So the next hearing, like I said, January 2026. Now, I want to start with some of the basics here. The trial for the alleged assassin of Charlie Kirk is shaping up to be one of probably the most watched, if they don't ban the cameras, cases in recent memory. Okay, for good reason. There are a lot of unanswered questions surrounding the Charlie Kirk assassination. And then I haven't talked about this a lot because I've waited up to this point. I am still going to wait to make any declarative statements about the assassination, or make any theory. I'm not going to do any of that until I get to see some of the trial play out. But I will tell you some of the inconsistencies I'm seeing and I'm hearing. And there's just so many unanswered questions. Doing a camera ban, I think, would be a terrible decision. This is going to be one of the most watched cases, and rightfully so. I mean, this is of national significance. This is a political figure who was assassinated. I would say he was as influential, if not more influential than MLK Jr. So eyewitness reports are very inconsistent surrounding the assassination. If you haven't dug into the rabbit holes of this, I have. The timing, the location details, none of it really lines up. And eyewitnesses get things wrong all of the time. So I'm not saying that this guy didn't do it, right? But I'm not saying he did do it. We'll have to wait and see what happens at the trial. Because there needs to be answers for some of these inconsistencies that have popped up. Like I said, timing and location details don't really line up. There's confusion about the surveillance footage, what exists, what doesn't, and what has been sealed and shoved away under the guise of, oh, this is an ongoing investigation. People haven't heard all of the evidence, seen all of the surveillance footage. Some of the surveillance footage doesn't exist. Some of it does. So the trial of a man accused of killing one of America's most outspoken conservative voices, and we're being told maybe you're going to see it, maybe not. And look, my position on this, we pay for the courts, we pay for the prosecutors, we pay for the security, the lights, the microphones, all up in that courtroom, everything. We, the people, fund the justice system. And I think that we, the people, have the right to witness it. And, if this was like a local robbery or a small-time drug case, sure, discretion, concealing victims, trying to... But we all know who the victims are, Charlie's two little babies and his wife. Discretion would make sense in some cases. In this case, it's of national significance. I think that it should be on camera. Every time it seems like a conservative or truth teller is targeted, we don't know anything about the attempted assassins of Donald Trump. We have no idea anything about them. And, heaven forbid a conservative gets killed, transparency suddenly just disappears or is attempted. If his life is attempted, they just bury all of it. So details get sealed, footage gets lost or never released, and the narrative is rewritten before the evidence even hits the courtroom. So the public is asking questions about the Charlie Kirk assassination because things don't line up, and I'll get to those inconsistencies one by one. But suddenly, when the public starts asking questions, then all of a sudden the system says, well, now's not the right time to talk about the cameras. Well, it is the right time. Justice can't hide behind closed doors. Cameras in the courtroom. It's not really about sensationalism. And who are we really protecting? Okay, they're about trust. Are we protecting Tyler Robinson and his right to a defense, which I agree, but you've already given the ability to wear street clothes. And you're trying to be fair here in providing a right to, he's allowed to participate remotely in most of these proceedings. So, I think you're being pretty fair. Let the people see, okay? This is truly about finding out the truth and letting the light in, okay? Because Americans, they want to see every minute of this testimony, every piece of evidence, every motion from the defense. And Charlie, he's spent his entire life speaking truth to power, and he inspired millions to stand up for America, for faith, for freedom. The least this country can do is to make sure that his trial, the trial that seeks justice in his name, is done openly, honestly, and in full public view. So that way we get the right guy and that justice is served. Now, I want to talk about the inconsistencies, things that I've seen pop up. Some people have observed that despite it taking place in broad daylight, the assassination, and on a college campus with many attendees, I mean, thousands upon thousands of attendees with their phones out, there seems to be very little video out there, publicly released video. There's no video out there clearly showing the shooter assembling or firing the rifle. So you would think with the campus full of attendees that there'd be more video, more evidence that was publicly released. It hasn't been, and I'm hoping that it comes out in trial. Now, there is a claim out there that there was a camera behind Charlie Kirk, and it was removed shortly after he got shot by a guy. And there's this camera out there that probably would have gotten at least the background. And it was removed shortly after he was shot. And there's questions now being raised about evidence preservation. Now, there's even more. Ballistics are kind of fuzzy. Okay, now there's talk of, the bullet, being that this was a high-powered bolt action, from what we're told, weapon from a rooftop. The distance was about 200 yards away. Analysts said that there was a scope on it, but the scope was really mounted far back, and for effective use, they found the gun assembled, and the scope on it, for it to be used effectively, like it just wouldn't have been used effectively from 200 yards away because it was mounted back too far. Some people are saying that now, I don't know if this is true, but he had a bulletproof vest on. The bullet ricocheted. Reports say that, for the bullet wound and for the way it looked. Okay, and I'm not going to play the video. I've watched it. I suggest you watch it. I'm not going to play it here on the Conservative Cat Show. But for the way it looked, the wound, it should have left more damage. Okay, this was like very, very clean. Like it looked like it just nicked him. But being as high powered as that weapon was, it should have just, and I hate to say it, just explode. I mean, just completely take out his whole, but like it's pretty clean. And just the way the wound opened up, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, people are saying that it ricocheted. So he was going for the chest. Now, this would line up that he took the shot, was going for the chest. The scope was kind of off, and he missed, or like shot like not directly in the chest where he was going for, but shot off to the side here. The bullet ricocheted up off of the bulletproof vest that Charlie was allegedly wearing, and it nicked his neck. Okay, and that's why we saw the wound bleed out the way it did. So yeah, there's a lot of inconsistencies. There was actually a report that talked about the crime scene being dismantled very rapidly and the crime scene not being preserved. There's problems there. Chairs were moved, and then the barriers were removed. The metal barriers that kept the crowd in. Shortly after the shooting, there was a seating area that was dismantled. Some question how the shooter accessed the rooftop in the first place, that there was surveillance footage that caught him going up to the rooftop. We haven't seen that. That's not publicly available. So some are questioning how he actually got up to the rooftop. Does that surveillance footage exist? He was armed with a high-powered rifle, took a perfectly what appeared to be placed shot, and escaped without being captured on multiple cameras. There were thousands of attendees there in the crowd. So my biggest thing, the inconsistency that I'm going to be trying to understand, and I know that the text messages kind of cleared it up, that he was looking to drop his gun in a drop spot and come back for it. But he disassembled, put it in a backpack, I guess, because we see surveillance footage of him running, jumping off the rooftop, running, no gun in his hand, as it appears. So they said he disassembled it, threw it in a backpack, but then he reassembled it to drop it off. The text messages are odd. He uses terms like vehicle and gosh, I like words that you don't use in casual conversation with somebody you're sleeping with. Okay, his transgender lover. Okay, allegedly. Okay, so I mean the two of them were, the neighbor said that they've seen the two of them making out, so they were in a romantic relationship of some kind. You don't communicate in that way. Now, these are Redditors or weirdos, in some weird subreddit that's, they've been probably both of them outcasted, the transgender individual and Tyler Robinson. So maybe their conversations are a little clunky, and they don't talk like you and I do. They use terms like vehicle, or, terms that we, like you and I would say the word car, right? But they were using interesting vocabulary in this text message exchange. And the text message exchange seemed to explain why he, or where he was dropping the gun off and why he was reassembling it and dropping it off. And he was trying to evade law enforcement. That's why he wanted to find a drop location or drop it off in a location. I don't know. I think it's all kind of inconsistent. I'm hoping the trial is filmed and we can kind of hear some of those inconsistencies, hopefully see some evidence. The Salt Lake Tribune report read like this. It says, Robinson is expected to appear in person at that hearing, January 16, 2026. That will be the first time the 22-year-old publicly appears in a courtroom. He has listened to previous court hearings so far via video feed from jail. During Monday's hearing yesterday, the jail turned off Robinson's camera, so he was not seen. He did not speak really during the hearing, except when the judge asked him, hey, are you going to be able to go to that hearing in January? And he said, yes, I can. So defense attorneys representing Robinson requested that their client appear unshackled in regular street clothes instead of the jail attire, and they didn't want him to appear guilty or look guilty. That is why they made those requests. Following his arrest, Robinson has made court appearances virtually, and he has been seen wearing a suicide prevention vest. So up to this point, I think that really the judge is just a pretty fair judge. And I think that he is allowing for some things, not allowing for others. I'm not upset about the media restrictions, like taking pictures of his shackles. Yeah. Paparazziing him outside, inside, or going inside the courtroom and coming out of the courtroom. That's, innocent until proven guilty, right? But we want to hear the proceedings. We want to hear the trial. We want to hear the evidence. And hopefully we can get some questions answered, the public, when that trial takes place. And that's what I'm all about. So if they do a camera ban, I'm going to be pretty pissed. So to sum it all up, now let's move on. Welcome to the Conservative Cat Show. We will never be told the truth. Yeah, especially if there's a camera ban. You could probably piece together some things that come out of that trial. Not all of it. But we really need justice for Charlie, and it needs to be the guy who did it. And we need to have all of the actors. I mean, I just don't believe, I'm going to be honest with you. I said I wasn't going to present any theories. I just don't believe the guy acted alone. I don't. I think he had help, whether it was a transgender boyfriend or whatever. I just don't think he was capable of getting off that rooftop alone. I think he threw down the gun to somebody. I don't know. Um, but there's a lot of inconsistencies, and I would love to see some answers come out in trial, but we probably won't even see the trial because it's going to be camera banned likely. But we'll have to wait and see. But we'll keep you in the loop. Is he going to live long enough to stand trial? Yeah, that's another thing. Maybe the whole Zoom, zooming in, which I find odd, and him appearing in court virtually, anytime he appears virtually, he's in that suicide prevention vest. Are they building this thing up? He's going to get Epstein, right? Killed himself. Didn't really kill himself. Are they building it up to where he's going to kill himself and we're never going to hear what Tyler Robinson has to say in court? We're never going to get to see some evidence and an actual trial take place. I don't know. But it's very odd that he hasn't appeared in court in person, I think. He's just done it virtually up to this point, which suggests to me that he's possibly very suicidal. Being that he's in the suicide prevention vest, that might be why they're doing it. Where they're allowing him to participate virtually to avoid him trying to kill himself when he leaves the jail. I don't know. We'll just have to see. When the shackling, so the judge said, "Hey, no, you're going to stay shackled." I mean, for a heinous crime like this, he's a danger, potentially to himself and others. But maybe he's having Tyler Robinson remain shackled really for his own benefit, if he is as suicidal as I'm suspecting. But is he actually suicidal? Do they want us to believe he's suicidal and then all of a sudden he's offed? And yeah, I know I'm going down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole, and I don't want to Candace Owens it. Okay. I don't want to theorize too much. I just hope that there's no camera ban, and hopefully we get some answers to some of these inconsistencies that I've seen in this case up to this point. All right, let's talk about SNAP. That's where we're headed today. 42 million Americans rely, let me put emphasis on that word, rely on food stamps. Okay. And it arrives every month on their EBT cards, their electronic benefit transfer cards. And on November 1st, which is just a few days away, that aid is going to abruptly stop due to the ongoing government shutdown. Now, you guys know my position on the shutdown. I really don't give a damn because really, honestly, I think that it's going to expose a lot of the BS that we spend money on, and it has. The government shutdown, we were sending, $3 million to some country. I think it was like Haiti, taxpayer dollars to have male prostitutes watch movies or something gay, fake and gay like that. And I'm just so sick of our taxpayer dollars not being spent correctly. And the government shutdown kind of exposes that. I think it's good for Republicans when they come back to session and when they actually come back and they fund the government and everything goes back to normal. I think that they'll have justification for cutting some government employees. It'll almost be like a Doge 2.0. And I've told you multiple times, you wake up in the morning. I don't know about you. I wake up in the morning, I pour my coffee, I hear the birds chirp. Everything is kind of normal for me. Why? Because I don't really interact with the government on a day-to-day basis. Most people don't. But we are getting to a point in the shutdown, and I want to be clear. The government shutdown has lasted longer than this before. I think it was in 2018, 35 days or something like that. Now we're approaching that number very quickly. We are getting to a point in the government shutdown where some people are going to be affected. Obviously, the government workers. I don't work for the government. And to be honest with you, you guys know my position. I'm not very pro public sector. I think that the private sector can do it better and do it more efficiently and cheaper. So I'm kind of anti-public sector to begin with. However, these are real people. I want to acknowledge that with real jobs, your TSA workers and things like that. And they've chosen to go work in the public sector, and that's fine. I just would never, right? It's a principle thing. I would love TSA to be privately contracted. There's some things that I think that can be private contract, and that it would be better for the taxpayer because they could do it for less if it was privately contracted, things like that. But anyway, the people who are going to start to get really feel the squeeze of this government shutdown, we're getting to a point. It's your federal workers, and it's your let's call them what they are, newborns that suckle at the taxpayer teat. Okay, the welfare folks. And I know I'm not trying to come off as holier than thou. My family, we use SNAP EBT for a short period of time to supplement our grocery budget. And my parents never let me drink pop. Okay. She didn't buy pop on it. And my mother was very careful with how she used that SNAP. She wanted to stretch it as much as that she could when my dad lost his job. But today we're talking about the $110 billion government buffet called Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, better known as SNAP. 40 million people. Now, when I heard that number, I thought to myself, man, how many Americans are somewhere around 300 million? Okay, so you do the calculation, that's about 12% of Americans are on EBT. Wow. 1 in 8 Americans, to put it a different way, they depend on Uncle Sam to pay their groceries, pay for their groceries. And right here in Illinois, it's nearly 1 in 7 residents are on the program. 2 million people are on that program, and that's up 13%. Here in the state of Illinois, 2 million people are on the program, and that's up 13% since 2019. So more and more people are on this program. And I'm not here to mock the hungry. Okay, scripture tells us to feed the poor, to care for the widow, to care for the orphan. The Bible tells us, however, to work diligently. Okay, and I actually put something out there on Facebook. You guys can always go find me, follow me for more content. Subscribe to the channel right now. But I put this out there, and I said, look, 1 Timothy 5:8 says, anyone who does not provide for their relatives, especially their own household, has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. And I actually, shared this image. And it's small ways, small money habits that add up over time. Transferring $20 in savings after a payday, okay, to your savings account. Having a high yield savings account. Waiting 24 hours before buying something. If you're an impulse buyer like me, this is something that I've implemented in my life, my own personal life. I like impulse buying. I wait 24 hours. I say, okay, I want to buy, let's say, a new dress, right? I'll be like, okay, I'm going to wait 24 hours and see if I feel this way again tomorrow. And after waiting 24 hours, I'm going to be honest with you, I forget and I never buy it. Okay. Packing a lunch, setting your bills to auto pay, tracking your expenses, reading one money book a month. Okay. Or finding scripture. I know there's wonderful devotionals out there that talk about money and being a good steward of your money, comparing prices before you buy something. I mean, these are just small little money habits that add up over time. And anybody who's listening who might be on SNAP or EBT, I wanted to share those because, hey, the Bible calls us to be working diligently, to be good stewards of what we have. And that includes our government funds, which come from the taxpayer's paycheck. Okay, so today I want to talk about the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, that word being the key, supplemental. It should not be a primary income stream. It just shouldn't be an income that you rely on for your grocery budget. And I don't know how it ballooned. And I know why it ballooned. And we're going to get to that because I really think that the billion-dollar corporations like Walmart love this thing. They love that SNAP has ballooned to $110 billion. Fraudsters, they target this system, and you foot the bill. So let's get into it. SNAP began with good intentions. It was supposed to be a safety net, a bridge over tough times. It's not supposed to be a hammock for long naps. Okay, it's a bridge for tough times. It's the supplemental part of the S in SNAP. Okay, it's designed to add to a household's ability to buy food, not replace it entirely. It's to help. It's not a lifestyle. Okay, so back in 2019, the average monthly benefit for a person was $121 per person. Okay. Then came COVID, the lockdowns, the emergency allotments. Okay. And overnight, benefits jumped from $121 per person a month to $230 per person a month. That's insanity. Okay. And even after the pandemic went away and it's no longer a thing anymore, that extra money didn't go away. And as of 2024, the average, it has gone down slightly. It's probably around 200 each month, 187 to 200 each month per person. Okay. So it's not that 230 per person a month as it was during the height of COVID. But that's like nearly a 50% increase from before the pandemic. Okay. So it might sound compassionate. And for many struggling families, it is a lifesaver. And it was a lifesaver during COVID-19. The emergency allotments, they took your job away. Okay. The right thing to do would be to give you government benefits. Okay. If the government took your job away, then yes, the government should step in and provide for you, because you can't provide for yourself because the government's going to go after you if you go to your job because you're a non-essential worker or they deemed you a non-essential worker. Okay. The program that was supposed to supplement a paycheck started replacing one. And this safety net has become a hammock that we don't take a nap in, that we just kind of sleep in like for 8 hours a day. Right. So this is not a safety net. In 2019, SNAP cost the U.S. about $63 billion. That was in 2019. Today, I already told you it's $110 billion. That's a 73% increase in just 5 years. In other words, we're spending more on food assistance than the entire GDP of some countries, $110 billion. Some countries don't even have that high of a GDP. Okay, so just to put that into perspective for you. Now, I want to bring it home to Illinois because this is a state that really abuses the SNAP program. In 2024, Illinois had over 1.9 million residents receiving SNAP. Okay, the Illinois Department of Human Services manages those benefits, and the numbers are staggering. Since 2019, our state SNAPs have grown. Our state SNAP rolls have grown nearly 250,000 people. So it was 1.9. Now it's a little over 2 million. Okay, people. And what's worse is our error rate is really bad. And I've talked about this before. The official error rate is 11.56%. And that means 1 out of every $10 in the Illinois program is either overpaid, an overpayment, misuse of the funds, or it's sent to ineligible recipients, i.e. illegal immigrants. Okay, so Illinois, it is a state that takes a temporary program and it turns it into a permanent drain. Okay, now Illinois has spent roughly $3 billion on SNAP last year. Okay, now that's over $340 million in wasted or misdirected funds if you account for the air raid. Okay, I'm doing the math here. So out of that 3 billion, 340 of it just was thrown away, misused, overpaid, given to people who aren't eligible for SNAP. Now think of what $340 million could do if it was in the hands of a church or a small faith-based community group. Okay, imagine the kind of help that they could provide people in their communities if that money was given to them, instead of the government who misused it and screwed it all up because their air rate. And the air rate doesn't even count outright like fraud, by the way. So that's like separate, the outright fraud. Between October of 2022 and December of 2024, Illinois saw 124,000 fraudulent transactions. So what does that mean? I told you the error rate, it's overpayments, and people who are ineligible receiving benefits, so i.e. illegals, or somebody who, makes $100,000 or something a year. They don't qualify for the program, but yet they get EBT. Okay, that's what the error rate is. Now, the fraud is completely different. Like I said, 124,000 fraudulent transactions. Now, what is that? It's people stealing people's EBT cards. Now, this is a thing where you swipe your EBT, it's cloned, okay, and your EBT is stolen. Okay, now over 21 million in taxpayer-funded food aid vanished into thin air between October 2022 to December of 2024. In Cook County alone, families had their benefits drained by thieves. And now there is a state policy where Illinois no longer reimburses victims of SNAP theft, from what I understand. So if you have your EBT cloned or somebody steals your EBT, or they take out a EBT application in your name, that's fraud. Okay, that's not included in the error rate. So those things happen all the time. And like I said, $21 million of taxpayer food aid vanished into thin air to these fraudsters. And in Cook County alone, families had their benefits drained by thieves. So I think it was over $21 million in Cook County alone. I got to double check that. I've got my notes here and they're scribbled. But Illinois doesn't reimburse victims of SNAP fraud. So they're supposed to get SNAP, but somebody either clones their card or they take out SNAP in their name. Your EBT gets skimmed. Good luck. The state says, sorry, the crooks got to it first. Okay, that's pretty much what the state says. So who wins? It's not the taxpayer. It's not the single mom who suddenly can't buy milk because her card was hacked. It's certainly not the Illinois family trying to climb off welfare and get onto financial ground, solid financial ground. None of those people are winning. Okay, it is actually big business. Now, I watched this in my free time, and I should pull up the clip. Caleb Hammer, he actually had somebody on semi-recently, and she was on Snap EBT. It was fascinating. He does something called financial audit. He's kind of like a Dave Ramsey, but younger. He's very much not political on his show. This woman was claiming that the election of President Donald Trump threw her into all kinds of debt when it came to her hairdresser business or whatever. And this woman, she was talking to him, and it was revealed that she actually was like a professional cheerleader, but paid to be a professional cheerleader, I don't know, $300 a month. And she had like 2 kids, different baby daddies. And she was paying to be a part of this cheer thing, okay, $300 a month, but she was also receiving a SNAP benefit of $300 a month. So in a way, the way the math kind of worked out was that, hey, you are paying to be a cheerleader, okay, a professional cheerleader or whatever, and take part in competitions. You're paying for that $300 a month. If you weren't doing that, you'd be able to pay your groceries that we're supplementing, the taxpayer is supplementing, so those types of people win too, because they get to prioritize their wants over their needs, and you provide for their needs. So those are the winners in all of this, the people exploiting the taxpayer. But the other party here that is winning, it's not the single mom who seriously needs it and has cut out all of the wants in her budget, and she can't afford to buy milk because she's going through a tough time. She's not winning. The taxpayers aren't winning, obviously. But big business is. So this is another party that wins. And here's where it gets interesting, because the government pays SNAP out, and they do it under this guise of compassion. But really, there is a whole set of players quietly smiling every time the benefits go up. So like I said, in 5 years' time, it went from $63 billion to $110 billion is what we pay in SNAP now. That's a 73% increase. Now, I want to talk about Walmart, the retail giant that redeems more SNAP dollars than any store in America. Okay, in fact, Walmart alone is estimated to collect around 20% of all SNAP spending nationwide. Now, that's roughly, I said it was $110 billion. That's roughly, it's more than $20 billion, okay, flowing straight from the taxpayers into the registers of one corporation. From a business standpoint, Walmart loves SNAPs. The benefits arrive like clockwork. It's government-backed, guaranteed revenue, and economists have a name for this: corporate welfare. It's dressed up as compassion. They say that it's compassion for the single mom and, all these people who need it. Really what it is, it's corporate welfare. Walmart doesn't need it, okay? And it's not just Walmart, it's the soda industry. They have their hand in the cookie jar too. So studies show that 10% of all SNAP dollars, so that's roughly $10 billion, are going towards sugary drinks, so soda pops, and even more of it goes towards snacks and junk food. That's billions every year going to Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Lay's potato chips, right? And all of it is paid paid for with taxpayer dollars. And it's a corporate welfare check. Like, these corporations don't need it, but they lobby for it like hell for it to be raised every single year. If SNAP was truly a nutrition system, so we've already talked about it being supplemental. I told you that during COVID, it was at $230 per person a month. It's gone down a little bit to like $187 to $200, depending on the state you live in. I think here in the state of Illinois, it's like $180, something like that, a month per person. But we've talked about the supplement, how it should supplement your grocery budget. It ballooning that much. It used to be $121 per person in 2019. It ballooning that much. We've gone away from it supplementing your income to it replacing, or your grocery budget to it replacing your grocery budget. Okay. Now I want to talk about the nutrition and assistance part of the name itself, SNAP. Okay. We should see an emphasis on eggs, produce, milk, butter, right? Not soda pop, energy drinks, and potato chips. Okay. But we can't even agree on that. And that's how I know in this nation, we will never have bipartisanship, because there is a side that does not even agree that SNAP, we should exclude soda pop from it. Look at how fat everybody is. Okay. why the hell do we not agree that we should take out soda pop, allow SNAP to be used for soda pop? Why the hell do we not agree on that? And I will never find common ground with people who say, oh, yes, soda should be included in the SNAP benefits, or you should be able to purchase soda with a SNAP benefit with an EBT card. Illinois retailers will tell you the fastest moving items on EBT cards aren't apples and oats. No, it's soda and it's chips. Okay. And we have somehow built a welfare system that subsidizes diabetes, and we are pretending to fight hunger. And it's complete BS. So that's the nutrition part of it. There's nothing nutritious about SNAP. Okay. When 10% of what we total, so that's like close to $10 billion over, is spent on soda pop alone. Yeah. That's not a nutrition program. Okay. Now the S, supplemental, the average Illinoisan stays on the program for decades. Okay. I'm not talking like 2-3 years, like back when my family was on SNAP growing up. We were on it max. I mean, we were on and off of it. My dad was in and out of jobs. There was, a factory that closed down. It really took a big old hit on the community, on my family. And we were on SNAP like, I don't know, a few times, but it was always like 3 months tops. Okay. And we would be off it. He would work. And then we'd get back on it if he was out of work, and it's meant to be supplemental. But Illinois recipients stay on the program consistently. I'm not saying on and off, on and off. I'm saying consistently for decades, the average Illinoisan. Okay. And we haven't had work requirements in decades ever, really, since I think it's like maybe it's 2017. Illinois doesn't do work requirements. Now, this federal bill, the One Big Beautiful Bill, there's a provision that requires work requirements in order to receive SNAP. If you have dependents, you don't have to work. But if you don't have dependents, you're able-bodied and between a certain age, you have to work at least 20 hours. And it doesn't even have to be a clock-in, clock-out job. It can be community service hours. Okay. You don't even have to get paid a paycheck for it. Okay. So there's going to be very chill work requirements. Now, thank you, President Donald Trump, in the One Big Beautiful Bill, but states like ours have waived the work requirements. And they waived any kind of like really eligibility requirements too during COVID. And some of those eligibility requirements were never reinstated after COVID. So 2 million Illinoisans, like I said, on SNAP, 11.56% error rate. And there is a growing number of corporations quietly pocketing all of the proceeds here. And the honest taxpayers, they are footing the bill. And it's a bill that never seems to go down or even stay the same. It's increased within 5 years, 73%. Okay, so this isn't compassion. It is a government system that rewards dependency and punishes discipline. Okay, and we need to bring back the spirit of the program. S, supplemental, nutrition. Okay, these words are why it's called what it is. We need to return to the spirit of the program. Now, I also think that we need a top to bottom audit because, like I said, financial audit Caleb Hammer. I actually watched this the other day. It was really funny. This girl was on. She was from Kansas City, I think. You guys can go check it out. He's a YouTuber. He's great. Fantastic channel. And he's not political. Okay. I compare him to a Dave Ramsey, but not really. He's kind of stays out of politics. And he just kind of sticks to the simple money moves, transferring $20 from your paycheck to a high yield savings account, making these small little money habits add up for you over time. That's what he's all about. really changed my finances too, and the way I approach my finances. He's a great guy, great program, great advice. I think that there needs to be a top to bottom audit. This woman should not be getting EBT if she is paying for professional cheerleading. Okay, $300 a month, and she is paying for herself to go do that. And she's a single mom with 2 kids, but she's receiving a SNAP EBT. That is not cool. We should audit people's personal finances. I would be for that. Making sure if you, and I know I'm going to get libertarians to comment, oh, the privacy concerns. No, if you are applying for a government program and you want taxpayer dollars, that opens you up. It's open season, man. I'm going to look at your personal finances, make sure that you're not spending money on wants when you can't even, like, when you're claiming you can't afford your basic needs. Okay, so what do we need? We need an audit. Who's getting these benefits? Are they eligible? Are the benefits being spent well? And let's look at people's personal finances. Are they really needing that SNAP EBT? And how much of all of this is being stolen, wasted, and funneled into corporate profits? Okay. And nobody really wants to have that conversation. Really, what SNAP is, it's these corporations have lobbied for that SNAP number to go up so they can have that guaranteed income. It's called corporate welfare. Now, in 2023, here's an interesting number. The improper payment rate at the federal level was 11.7. I think that's come down. Illinois at that time was higher. Ours right now has come down as well. It's 11.56. Now, part of the reason was probably because of COVID, inflating that error rate. But in 2023, at the federal level, nationwide, 11.7% error rate. That's nearly $10.5 billion gone to error and misuse. So an honest audit would expose some of these inefficiencies, the fraud, and the corporate influence. And we should look into the corporate influence, stop these lobbyists from, I think, if you have something to gain from the SNAP benefit going up, you shouldn't be able to lobby on that issue. Okay, there should be lobbying laws surrounding that where corporations can't push politicians into raising that because obviously it's a conflict of interest. You guys stand to benefit from that being raised. Okay, so we need to force our leaders to have a conversation that they have been avoiding, and that is to clean up this program and bring it back to what it is supposed to be, supplemental and nutritional. And, I don't know why we are spending more than ever on SNAP, and I don't know why soda sales are thriving on taxpayer dime. But I will tell you from a Christian conservative view, Christians are called to feed the poor, but we are also called to guard against waste and corruption. Jesus, he multiplied those loaves and fishes, right? But he didn't go tell the disciples to throw half of the baskets in the sea. Okay, accountability is biblical, stewardship is moral, and when the government grows beyond measure, when programs designed for temporary help become permanent lifestyles, when corporate giants make billions off of the taxpayer, it's time to ask whether this is about compassion or whether it's about control. So our leaders need to have these tough conversations. SNAP should be a ladder. It shouldn't be a leash somebody depends on. And if Illinois truly cared about the poor, they would clean up the fraud and, in fact, pay people who are frauded or who are scammed or have their EBT skimmed or have people take out SNAP applications in their name. They should pay those people back who are actually frauded or actually scammed. And we need to cut out the corporate kickbacks. and not allow them to lobby on behalf of this issue. And we need to get back to the center of the program. So here's my challenge to Illinois. You call your legislators, ask them where they stand when it comes to auditing Illinois SNAP. Ask them why we have one of the highest SNAP rates in the country, and ask them if there's more we could do to stop fraud and theft. And then also ask them, what does a program with nutrition in its title, why does a program with nutrition in its title allow corporations to rake in billions via soda pop, snacks, okay, and ask them, hey, what do you think about eliminating soda from being purchased on SNAP? What do you think about that? All right. In closing, Illinois should lead by example. Proverbs 21:5 says this: the plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. Yes, the system is broken, the system is bloated, and the system needs fixed. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break, but we're going to come back and we are going to talk about Coles County, Illinois, because this is a tragedy that could have been prevented. Mike Clayton, my condolences to Mike Clayton and Gail Clayton's families. Him and his wife, Gail, are now dead. And there are state lawmakers saying this could have been prevented. And I'll tell you how it could have been prevented here next on Conservative Cat. I'll be right back. Welcome to Conservative Cat Clips, the show that cuts through the noise with claws out truth and unapologetic common sense. I'm your host, Kat. No fluff, just facts. Today, we're tackling the topic mainstream media would rather tiptoe around, and that's abortion, its history, its turning point, and what's happening now and where it's headed. Let's start with the past. In 1973, the Supreme Court handed down Roe v. Wade, and just like that, abortion became legal nationwide. It wasn't voted on. It wasn't in the Constitution. It was judicial activism, plain and simple. And over the next 49 years, over 60 million unborn lives were lost under this illusion that it was just healthcare, that this is just healthcare. Fast forward to the game changer, June 24th, 2022. Dobbs versus Jackson's Women's Health Organization. The court finally corrected course, overturned Roe, and returned the power back to the states. Cue the media meltdown. But guess what? That's what democracy looks like. Local, real control. Right now, it's a state-by-state battle. Red states are passing laws to protect unborn life, some with heartbeat bills, others with total bans. Blue states, on the other hand, are sprinting forward, abortion on demand, some even pushing abortion access up until birth. That's not progressive, that's extreme. And here's where it gets even messier. Abortion pills. The latest front in this fight. The FDA greenlit mail-order abortion pills with almost no oversight. Think about that. A teenager can get these powerful drugs sent to her door without even seeing a doctor. Safe? Hardly. But the Biden administration, they were all in, treating abortion like it's the crown jewel of their social agenda. What's next? The future of abortion is being written right now. The state legislatures, in the courts, and in the culture, and at the ballot box. Conservatives are stepping up, passing strong protections, supporting crisis pregnancy centers, promoting adoption reform, and standing firm with both the mother and the child. Here's the bottom line. The fight isn't over. It's just begun, and we're no longer playing defense, though. We're shaping the culture. One law, one vote, and one voice at a time. This has been Conservative Cat Clips, where the truth cuts deep and the values stand tall, and we don't apologize for standing up for life. Hey, good morning. I so do appreciate you being here this morning. Today we are talking about something a little heavy this morning. Mike Clayton and his wife Gail are dead. Their truck and this is based on preliminary reports. Their truck was hit head on by a man who allegedly is in the country illegally. Now, his name is Edwin Pacheco Meza. Okay. Now, according to preliminary reports, he crossed over that center line. He was driving in a van and he was under the influence and he crashed into two innocent people who are now gone. A community is thrown into mourning. Mike Clayton is a Coles County board member. So what does your state government do? Nothing. They're going to probably double down on this sanctuary state status. And, you know, that doesn't do anything for people like Mike and Gail. It's not a sanctuary for them, this state, clearly. So let's call this what it is. It was a preventable tragedy. And this is so upsetting because Illinois has always pitched this as compassionate. And really what it is, it's hypocrisy. They say that, oh, we're being compassionate for the illegals. But what about the citizens of this country? Obviously, it's not compassionate to allow illegal aliens to come here. They're not even supposed to be here. And this is a trend. And I'll get to that here in just a second, because this isn't just one-off DUI illegal alien crashing into somebody. State Representative Adam Niemerg, he didn't mince words. He said, really, this lands at the feet of Governor J.B. Pritzker, and he's right. This tragedy. Under J.B. Pritzker, Illinois has declared itself a sanctuary state, which has enticed illegal immigrants to come here, and that means local law enforcement. They believe. Now, if I was local law enforcement and I was your sheriff, I wouldn't listen to what the state government had to say, because it's unconstitutional. I swear an oath to the Constitution and to protect people and to uphold state laws and federal laws. And it is against federal law for them to be here, and that trumps, in my brain, state law. Okay. So law enforcement believe that they are prohibited from cooperating with federal immigration authorities like ICE. And it's really led to all kinds of chaos here. Now, like I said, if I was a sheriff, I don't believe that. I don't believe that you just say screw you to your oath to the Constitution. You swear to uphold the Constitution and protect people. And the way you do that would be to cooperate with federal immigration authorities when they're trying to, enforce federal law. Yeah. So when someone is arrested here in the state of Illinois, even when an ICE detainer is issued, Illinois law enforcement says that their hands are tied and that they can't cooperate with ICE. Even if there's deportation orders and things like that, or there's a detainment order, a lot of local law enforcement will say our hands are tied because they're following the sanctuary state laws. State Senator Chapin Rose, in a statement addressing this, Mike and Gail, their tragic deaths, he said, under Illinois' idiotic laws that protect illegal and criminals over citizens, the laws that Governor J.B. Pritzker refuses to fix, the Clark County Sheriff is not even allowed to enforce the ICE order to detain the suspect. Okay. So let that sink in. So I guess there's a detainment order, according to Chapin Rose's statement. Now, this is where it gets all really kind of insane, because Illinois State Police will not confirm if this person is in fact here in the U.S. illegally. And I want that to sink into you, because the sheriff says that he can't detain someone ICE wants off of the streets, that he can't hand them over because of the sanctuary state laws. Okay. Now, he claims that he legally can't, the sheriff. Now, I don't know about you, but this is just moral rot dressed up as virtue to me. This is terrible policy. Illinois State Police say that Pacheco Meza, his van crossed over that center line, collided with the Clayton's Ford F-150. The passenger in the van was injured. or walked away unharmed, and then Pacheco Meza, the driver himself, had minor injuries, but the two Claytons, the Claytons died. Okay, Mike and Gail didn't get to walk away. So it's kind of unclear if he's even here in the United States illegally, because the Illinois State Police won't confirm that. They're not allowed to. I probably under state law, something, about immigration status and concealing immigration status. But they won't release his immigration status to the public. And they're referring everything to the U.S. and Immigration Services. Now, according to Chapin Rose's statement, apparently there is a detainment order from ICE, and they want him. Okay, they want him detained. So we'll have to see. I'm sure that Immigration Services will come out and maybe address it. This is a huge story because he was a Coles County board member. Constituents in District 2 of Coles County, they are going to be left without a county board member. And what's really sucky about all of this, there's no transparency, there's no accountability, and the Pritzker administration acts like Illinois belongs to bureaucrats, not the people who live here. Okay, these laws don't do anything for you and I, the people who actually live here in the state. They only serve bureaucrats because it gains them votes. Okay, the sanctuary state laws, it gains them votes. That's what this is all about. And when it comes to illegal immigration, the Pritzker administration really doesn't want you to have a say in it because it's good for the Democrats and it's good for them getting the freaking votes. Okay, so I want to zoom out. Like I said, this isn't the first time Illinois has lost citizens to drunk driving by people who are here in the United States illegally. Senator Chapin Rose, in his statement, said, this is at least the 5th or 6th DUI-related death in East Central Illinois by an illegal in recent years. And folks, that's what we call a pattern. I don't know what that is. Semi-recently in the news, we had an illegal immigrant who was employed by a trucking company who's driving a 18-wheeler, and he was intoxicated and he killed multiple people in California. So this is a pattern. I don't know what drinking culture is like in other countries, but I think it's odd that they're all getting intoxicated and they're all getting on the road. I'd imagine that DUIs and drinking and getting behind the wheel of a car, this is something that is culturally in America frowned upon. I don't know if that's the same for other cultures. For example, child brides, okay? Young children getting married, 12-year-old girls getting married to 40-year-old men. In some countries, that's not frowned upon and it's legal. Here in the United States, we call that pedophilia. Okay, so not all cultures are equal. Some cultures have terrible things about them, and some cultures are objectively terrible, morally terrible. So maybe that's why there's a pattern here where there's people who are illegally here from other countries, perhaps culturally, they don't see a problem with getting behind the wheel of a vehicle while intoxicated because in their country, it's not frowned upon. Eating things like cats or dogs, that's not frowned upon in some countries. Here we say, no, there are pets. Little Sammy, the golden retriever, okay, he's our pet. He's not food. Okay, so under the Illinois Trust Act and the Way Forward Act, passed by Democrats, signed by Governor J.B. Pritzker, local police believe that they are forbidden. I'm going to choose my words carefully here because I think locally you have way more power than what you think you have. My local sheriffs listening, local police listening, I think you have way more power than you actually think. Just stick by the Constitution and follow federal law. And I think you're going to be all right. Because any law that is anti-constitutional or unconstitutional, you shouldn't have to be forced to enforce it. Does that make sense? So according to the Illinois Trust Act and the Way Forward Act, local police believe they are forbidden from detaining someone based on an ICE hold, like detaining someone who ICE wants, okay, and handing them over to ICE. They believe that they are prohibited from sharing information regarding somebody's immigration status. They believe that even notifying ICE when an illegal immigrant is released from jail, that's illegal, that you can't notify ICE when an illegal immigrant is released from jail. If ICE can't find out who's in custody, okay, they can't deport them. Okay, so if they're here in the country illegally, these criminals will walk away. Now, I'm not totally anti-Trust Act, actually, and I know that people are going to be like, what? The Trust Act is terrible. No, the way I interpret the Trust Act, it should be where local law enforcement is not on the hook for performing the duties of federal immigration authority. So what do I mean by that? You shouldn't have to go see if Maria is actually married to Brad, okay? Or if Juan is actually married to Ashley, and their green card or their, marriage is real, actually checking on their work visas. That shouldn't be the job of our local law enforcement. However, if they commit a crime and it is happened upon while they're in custody that they are here in the United States illegally, you're obligated to contact ICE, I would imagine. Okay, and say, hey, we have somebody here who has no documentation, is not a citizen of the country. They committed a DUI, homicide. I think it was like reckless homicide or something like that is what this guy was charged with, Edwin Pacheco Meza. But I think local law enforcement has an obligation because of the Constitution, because of federal law, to call ICE at that point once they're in custody. Now, do you go out there and check people's work visas to make sure that they're, actually working, or, they're actually married to a U.S. citizen or whatever, what ICE does? No, I don't think local law enforcement should do that. Now, Illinois used to stand for law and order. We really did, long time ago. But now we stand for lawless compassion is what they will call it. And it's compassion for criminals, not victims. And, they do these policies under the banner of tolerance. And I don't know about you, but what's tolerant about burying your dead neighbors? Because the state has refused to enforce federal laws and work with federal law enforcement. I don't know what's really tolerant about that. I don't like burying my dead neighbors and community members. Mike and Gail, they are dead. Mike, he was elected. He was a public servant. He was a Coles County board member, a man who gave his time and energy to his community. Gail was the same way from what I hear. I didn't know them personally. But a lot of them described Mike and Gail as kind and dedicated. Now their family is broken because a guy who never should have been in this country, let alone behind a wheel, was allowed to stay. And because his culture likely doesn't look down upon driving while intoxicated, he got behind that wheel and he killed him. Okay, allegedly. So Niemerg said it best. Adam Niemerg, he's a state representative. These two great people should be alive today. And he's not exaggerating. And, why was Pacheco Meza still here? I don't know. If ICE have had the ability to work with the state, perhaps he wouldn't be still here. If, this guy should be handed over to ICE if that's what ICE wants, to deport him. Now, he should answer for his crimes here in Coles County. I think he's actually being held in Clayton County. It happened on like a border there in East Central Illinois, south there. I think it's more south. But these sanctuary policies have turned Illinois into a safe haven for lawbreakers either way. Okay. So if he was a border jumper and kind of flew under the radar and there was no way to deport this guy and he wasn't known to law enforcement, okay, but the sanctuary policies have still turned Illinois into a safe haven for these lawbreakers, and they come here because they know that it's a sanctuary state. Representative Adam Niemerg said, if ICE had the ability to work with the governor and the legislature, these two individuals could have been apprehended and their lives, the two individuals. So it's suspected that the passenger of the van, like I said, there were two people in that van, both of them not very injured. The Pacheco Meza, the driver himself, he sustained minor injuries. He said that these two lives could have been spared, the Claytons, and these two individuals could have been apprehended. So unclear their immigration status. Like I said, it's reported by Chapin Rose, State Senator Chapin Rose, State Representative Adam Niemerg, that this guy was here illegally. Rose went as far in his statement to say that ICE wants, or there was a detainment order for this guy. So I'll link to Chapin Rose's statement in the description below on YouTube. So let's be clear. Criticizing illegal immigration is not being anti-immigrant. Although I will say this, I'm at a point where I am of the belief that not all cultures are equal, and we have to be very selective of the type of person we bring into America. Do we want people who will not assimilate to our culture? Do we want people who think that it's okay to get behind a wheel and drink and drive? Do we want people who think child brides are okay? Do we want people who eat cats and dogs? No. So we need to be very selective, and we need to vet these people and say, hey, are you willing to assimilate? Do you want to be in America, or do you want to be an American? There's a big difference between wanting to be in America and wanting to be an American. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up, and then we're going to switch gears here. I'm going to take a quick break, but you're listening to Conservative Cat. Smash that like button. Share this out with your friends. Some tribes do child arrangement marriages in remote places of Asia and North America. Yeah, crime shouldn't be tolerated because of the criminal skin color. Yes. So it's not about skin color. It is crime, and really what we deem as crime. And what the left wants to do is they want to distort our neutral, what we've already established as neutrally moral. Okay, we have a set of laws in this country that we have established as moral laws, and what they want to do is distort that and allow for all of these cultures to come in who believe it's morally okay to marry children, to do child arrangements and arranged marriages, and marry children off to 40-year-old, 50-year-old men, right? Or to eat cats and dogs. We have laws about these kinds of things. And we've established those laws really off of the Judeo-Christian Bible, or the Christian Bible, and Judeo-Christian values. And we've derived those laws from that. And anything that deviates from that, the Democrats want to say is also morally okay. And it's not. And it's a fight. So we're going to be right back. I got to take a quick break. Smash that like button. Share this out with your friends. I'll be right back.
You ever tried to explain your faith to someone who doesn't get it? Like you're speaking a different language? Peter knew that tension. He told believers to live such good lives among the pagans that even if they accused them of doing wrong, they'd see their lives and end up glorifying God. Translation: let your life preach louder than your lips. It's not weakness. That's warfare. You don't always need a microphone. You need integrity. You need consistency. You need to grind with grit and grace when no one's cheering. People are watching how you handle stress, how you treat your wife, how you react when life sucker punches you. They're watching to see if your God is real because your walk is the evidence. You don't get to control what they say, but you can live in a way that shuts lies down over time. Let your honesty wreck stereotypes. Let your discipline echo louder than their gossip. Let your kindness feel like a gut punch to a world used to selfish men. Because one day, maybe not now, maybe not soon, those same people who laughed at your faith might remember your life when they hit rock bottom. And when they do, they'll know who to call. Live like someone's eternity might depend on it, because it might. You want a pre-workout that speaks for itself? Patriot Pump doesn't need hype, just results. Clean energy, no crash, built for men who lead by example, on the platform or in the shadows. Fuels what matters. Train for legacy.
Okay. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. I was just reading Chapin Rose's statement, and yeah, he went as far as to say that, yeah, it's like pretty much that there was a detainment order for this fellow. So the media is going to move on from the story. I hope that ICE releases a statement. ICE gets this guy, after he answers for his crimes, of course, in Coles County, his alleged crimes in Coles County. But I'm worried that the media is going to move on from the story. They always do. They'll call it a tragic incident. They'll call him Indianapolis Man, which I've already seen the headlines that calling him Indianapolis Man. They'll call it an isolated case. But it's not isolated, because we talked about it happening already in East Central Illinois 5-6 times, according to Chapin Rose, a senator. So when the drunk driving deaths by illegal aliens become an annual statistics, like I'm starting to see this more and more, and it must be a cultural thing where they don't look down upon that maybe in other countries. It's not a coincidence, it's a consequence. Okay, this is an annual statistics. Illegal immigrants are getting behind the wheels of vehicles, and they are drinking or taking drugs. And we are living in a state where elected officials have decided it's better to lose lives than lose votes. That's really what this is. The Hispanic vote, the illegal immigrants, getting them to, sign up for automatic voter registration, getting on the voter roll, whatever it is. They've decided in this state, your elected officials, that it's better to lose lives than to lose votes. That's really what is all about this, in even the virtue signaling, okay, to their base. That's what these sanctuary state laws are all about. So they can release press releases and talk about how tolerant they are of the brown people. And they're doing that to try to gain votes. And it's disgusting. It's disturbing. And let me say it again. They would rather risk your life than risk their reelection. And Governor J.B. Pritzker wants to be remembered, I guess, probably as a visionary, a national figure, which is why he's done things like sanctuary state for gender affirming care for children, abortion, whatever. He wants to be seen as a national figure. But look, pal, you can't be a visionary when your vision winds up burying people you're supposed to protect. You're not going to go down in history as a hero when you do these kinds of things. So you can't be a sanctuary for lawbreakers and also have it be a safe place for citizens at the same time. Because this place was not a sanctuary, obviously, for Mike and Gail Clayton. One cancels the other. Okay, so where do we go from here? We start by telling the truth. We start saying that Mike and Gail Clayton didn't die by accident. Okay, they died because of reckless immigration policies. The policies written by Springfield, signed by the governor's office, and enforced in silence and cowardice really. I would say any local law enforcement official who is enforcing these types of laws are cowards, and they're enforcing it without thinking about their oath to the Constitution. Okay, so until we demand change, until we put citizens first again, the Claytons, unfortunately, will not be the last. This isn't about hate. It's about love. It's about love for our neighbors. It's about love for country. And it's about love for law and order, because God calls us to love the stranger, but he also calls us to uphold justice. And justice means protecting the innocent before, or means protecting the innocent and not showing compassion for criminals. Okay, that's justice. So to Mike and Gail Clayton's families, I hope that in their memory, we can wake this state up. May their memory wake this state up. May it remind us that every law ignored is a life endangered. And Illinois has got to become a state that protects its people, not politics. Now, I do want to get to this morning. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends, subscribe to the channel. And if you are watching, go ahead and visit patriotpumpenergy.com and buy your bottle of premium pre-workout today using promo code ConservativeCat. This has 150 milligrams of caffeine, so it's not a ton of caffeine. We're not trying to get you hooked on caffeine and sugar. We pair it with black pepper extract, and it will make your caffeine last and work for you. Okay, so get it today by getting it, you support the program, and we can do more here at the Conservative Cat Show. More investigative reporting, more interviews, more on the website, and we can do more with your support, and I appreciate anybody who supports the program. All right, let's get to this episode of the Schumer shutdown, holding the American people hostage. So the government shutdown, aka the Schumer shutdown, as I like to refer to it, has entered its fourth week. Okay, and now the American Federation of Government Employees, this is the largest in the nation, federal government employee union. Okay, they have had enough. Now, they didn't go as far as I would have wanted in the statement. They should have called the Democrat Party to the mat, but they've had enough of this shutdown. And we're going to get to the AFGE here in just a minute. But I want to talk about this bitter partisan standoff that's going on in Washington right now, because it continues to cause disruptions. Now, we're getting to a point in the government shutdown, like when the government shutdown first started, I was like, okay, it's not really going to affect all that much. And it still isn't going to affect your life probably all that much, unless you are collecting government services or using government services on a day-to-day basis, and unless you are a federal employee, a government worker. Okay, but now we're starting to see, the financial pressure on federal employees. They're starting to get pissed because they're not getting paid. Senator Minority Chuck Schumer, leader Chuck Schumer, and his comrades are leveraging the federal employees, and they are leveraging other people who are susceptible to the shutdown, which is kind of a small bit. Okay. But it's still going to have an impact on people who, need SNAP, the actual people who need SNAP, and then your federal workers. And the Democrats refuse to back down on their push for taxpayer-funded healthcare for illegal aliens. That is the crux of what's going on in Washington. Now, the White House is firing back after this minority whip. Okay, her name is Catherine Clark, Massachusetts. She admitted on a Fox News interview that Democrats see the Schumer shutdown as a way to leverage a moment. Okay, and it's worth allowing the American people to suffer. Some of these American people, maybe not you and I, unless you are interacting with the government on a day-to-day basis, like I said, but some American families are suffering, and she sees this as a rare opportunity to leverage the moment. Okay, and she said this out loud, and I'll play the clip. But as is often with the case with the Democrat Party, they tend to accidentally tell the truth sometimes. And Clark, Catherine Clark, she was speaking to a congressional correspondent. His name is Chad Pergram, and she was speaking with him last week, and she gave up a little bit of the game. So she kind of told on herself a little bit here. I'm going to play this clip for you. Pull it up. Alrighty, come on. Here we go. Okay, so she sat down with this correspondent. Take a listen to what she says here.
I mean, shutdowns are terrible. And of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously. But it is one of the few leveraged times we have. I mean, shutdowns are terrible.
Okay, so Clark here, she stated that the party's highest priority right now is delivering health care. What she didn't tell you was that it was delivering taxpayer-funded health care to illegal immigrants. But this is the second highest, this woman right here, is the second highest House Democrat next to Senator Schumer, okay? And she says that this is our defining issue. This is the hill we are dying on, okay? And when you listen there, she talks about leverage, and she said the quiet part out loud. It's all about leverage, and they're willing to do this at the expense of family. She said shutdowns are terrible, and of course there will be, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously, but it's one of the few leverage items we have. Wow. Everything is a political game to these people. This comment is just dripping with elitism. Okay. And I do want to play this clip from Shrek. This is something you'd expect from like a Lord Farquaad type. Have you guys seen the movie Shrek? Not a prominent Democrat maker. I'm not seeing a big difference between these two clips. That clip and this one of Lord Farquaad in the Shrek movie. This is a scene. Take a listen. Here we go.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. So Clark's admission here is it is just so damning. She says, of course, the suffering is going to be inevitable through the government shutdown, but as long as we can take advantage of it politically and get our health care for the illegal immigrants, it's worth every little bit of suffering. Okay. This exposes the rot at the core of her party's playbook. I mean, it just goes to show you how truly evil this party has become. They are prioritizing power grabs and politics over, paychecks for workers. I'm not a big fan of the public sector, but there are, and I will not deny this, hardworking men and women in the public sector, and they are prioritizing their power grabs and their political game over the paychecks for those people. And Republicans in the White House, they were very quick to fire back. You had this guy, Senator Bill Hagerty of Tennessee. He described Clark's comments as shameful. Quote, he says, Clark said the quiet part out loud. Democrats don't care about Americans that are suffering from the government shutdown. That is what he wrote on X. Here's what White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said. She said, the Democrats are now admitting that they are intentionally causing American families to suffer with reckless government shutdown. What's wrong with them? Look, Caroline, sweetheart, I think that it would take forensic behavioral therapists or experts, I don't know. I would think it would take them centuries to try to figure out what's going on with today's Democrat Party. I don't think that the smartest people in the world would be able to figure out what's going on in their heads. House Speaker Mike Johnson, he actually sensed, that Clark's admission here, that she had actually really stepped in it. And her inadvertent admission is now being played. And I'll share this with you. This is on X. Emily Brooks, she's a reporter, and she, shows this on her X feed. So this is a TV screen, and this is the speaker's office, and he is playing that segment right outside his office doors. This is, you might actually recognize this from a few weeks ago when I was doing a show about the Capitol Police officer. He was there, and there was a bunch of women, locking arms, the feminazis. They were going and they were saying, "We want you, Speaker Mike Johnson, to confirm this lawmaker." It was actually, I think, a relative of a lawmaker who had died, and they wanted her to be appointed to that seat. And they said, appoint her now, right? And they were marching on the Speaker of the House's office there, and this Capitol Police officer said, whoa, what are you doing? They started tearing down his some of his stuff that he had outside of his office. And, this Capitol Police officer, presumably at that time, wasn't probably getting paid, and he's probably suffering a little bit under the Schumer shutdown. Look, Clark, she's a top Democrat, and she was in that segment, I believe, relishing over the suffering of others. Okay, and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, the man closely tied to this ongoing gridlock, the Schumer shutdown, admitted that the shutdown is a positive development, and he says that it's a positive thing. I think that there's benefits to the shutdown. I do, for the Republicans. I think that it's going to expose a lot of waste, and it has exposed a lot of waste and fraud, waste and misuse of taxpayer funds. Now, this is a direct quote from Chuck Schumer, though. He says, "Every day gets better for us." The Republicans are not saying that. They're saying that, yes, the shutdown has revealed this, and when we come back, we are going to kind of do a Doge 2.0 possibly, and cut some of these agencies, these faux agencies, and restore sanity to this system and help the taxpayer. But this guy, Chuck Schumer, is going far beyond saying it helps us, politically, to saying every day just gets better for us. They're so tone deaf. Some of you may die, but that is a sacrifice I'm willing to deal with, or willing to do. Now, Democrats are celebrating the shutdown. Schumer thinks that the longer it drags out, the better. And, Clark here, she admits that people have got to suffer in order, for them to benefit, and for this shutdown to drag on, they've got to suffer. So these are your no kings types. Okay. Chuck Schumer, Catherine Clark, they're thriving, and they're winning their political game, but you're not winning. The woman who relies on the WIC program, the single mom who relies on food stamps that's going to dry up on November 1st. You're not winning. So in a statement on Monday, the AFGE, this is the largest union for national or for federal workers. The president, Everett Kelly, said there is no clear end in sight, and he demanded the passage of a clean continuing resolution. He pulled no punches in a statement. He said, "This week, Congress pushed our nation into a fourth week of a full government shutdown, an avoidable crisis that is harming families, communities, and the very institutions that hold our country together. Our political parties have made their point, and there still is no clear end in sight. Today, I am making mine. It is time to pass a clean continuing resolution and end this shutdown today. No half measures, no gamesmanship. Put every single federal worker back on the job with full payback today." Yeah, good luck with that, Schumer and the Democrats. And, I think that this guy should have gone a bit further and called out the Democrat Party, because it's their fault. They voted against it several times. I think to this point, 12 times they voted against a continuing resolution. So Schumer and the Democrats have made it all too clear that they are far more interested in exploiting and pandering to illegal immigrants, presumably for the Hispanic vote or their Democrat base. Everybody deserves health care. It's more about their reelection rather than lives affected. And they won't pass a sensible CR and put the federal government back to work. Schumer and the Democrats remain fixated on preventing all things Donald Trump. That's what this is really all about. They want to prevent everything that is Donald Trump because they falsely believe that if they fight harder against Donald Trump, the more support they're going to get from their rank and file Democrat voters. And that is so stupid. It's an ill-fated belief because really that belief is ultimately what led to the decisive win in 2024, where Donald Trump won the presidential election. So the problem for the Democrats is still that they don't get it. Okay. They don't understand. And now it is increasingly causing unnecessary hardships because they're not getting it, that we have a mandate and Donald Trump was chosen. They're still not getting it. They are increasing unnecessary hardships on some people across the country. Kelly continued, the FG president, he says, as the president of the American Federation of Government Employees, I represent over 800,000 workers, federal and DC government workers who serve with pride and professionalism. They ensure our skies are safe, our veterans receive care, our borders are protected, and our food is inspected. They come from every political background, every corner of the nation. What unites them is the simple belief that service to the country is honorable work. And today, that belief is being tested. The Army nurse in San Antonio, the TSA officer in Atlanta, the USDA food safety inspector in Iowa, and hundreds of thousands of more just like them are being asked to keep the country running without the paychecks that keep their households afloat. These are patriotic Americans, parents, caregivers, and veterans forced to work without pay while struggling to cover rent, groceries, gas, and medicine because of political disagreements in Washington, and that's unacceptable. Okay, dude, go further. Talk about the Democrat Party being the problem here, and he won't. But the bottom line is that Schumer and the Democrats, who ironically view themselves as the advocates for, working class folks, are more interested in beating Trump. They want to win by beating Trump. And, they would rather do that than ensure, all these federal workers are able to pay their bills. And they're all about Donald Trump bad. So here is what Kelly said in his last little part of his statement here. He said, it's long past time for our leaders to put aside partisan politics and embrace responsible government. A strong America requires functioning government, one that pays bills, honors its commitments, and treats its workforce with respect by paying them on time. The path forward for Congress is clear. Reopen the government immediately under a clean continuing resolution that allows continued debate on larger issues. So right there is kind of telling. I think that he kind of alludes to that this is the Democrats' fault because they voted several times to not pass a continuing resolution. Ensure back pay for every single employee who has served or has been forced to stay home through no fault of their own. And then work together in a bipartisan basis to address important policy matters like addressing rising costs and fixing broken appropriations process. The broken appropriations process. So, yeah, I definitely think that we're going to reopen the government at some point. We're going to get back pay to all these federal workers. I'm not worried about that. But the notion that we will work in a bipartisan way on important policy matters and to fix rising costs, that is not going to happen with a TDS-riddled Democrat Party. They are bitterly driven by Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and left-wing radicals like Representative AOC and Jasmine Crockett. They are going to work tirelessly against the Republican Party, although it was mandated by the voters that we do Republican policy. The majority of the country is run by Republican policy. Okay, they won the House and the Senate. Get over it. Okay, Senate Democrats, they blocked the bill to pay military members, air traffic controllers, and other federal employees. They blocked that. I guess they prefer keeping them unpaid until illegals get their guaranteed taxpayer health care. Senate Democrats, like I said, they voted against the CR 12 distinct times up to this point. The shutdown began October 1st. The Democrat Party, bottom line, they are doing their damnedest to stop Donald Trump and to block Donald Trump every step of the way. And that is what this is about. And it's really freaking annoying because guess what? Trump won. Get over it. You lost. Hey, you guys have a blessed day. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. It's a Daily Show. Bye-bye. Love you so much. Catch you later.